Okay, so my name is Ian. I'm an HR generalist here, and you've probably noticed the camera to my right.
Yes.
Right. So our process here is what the hiring executive likes to do is she likes us to record these interviews, and then she can actually get a feel for the person. She looks at this helps her put together her short list for the next round of interviews. So
Okay.
if that's all right with you, we're going to be recording this.
Not a problem.
Great. And of course, you'll be getting a copy of this at the end as a souvenir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this won't take long. Just have a few sort of general questions.
Okay.
Let's start with, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
My name is Deborah Holland, and I'm a sales professional with over 20 years of experience, specializing in sales marketing and sales management. I'm energetic and enthusiastic, a creative thinker, problem
To a good salesperson.
I would say I'm a cross between an introvert and an extrovert. I love meeting new people. I'm very outgoing. I can talk to anyone. But at the same time, I have an analytical side. I like to reflect on things, very detail oriented. So it's a nice blend of the two, I think. I like to use my CRM system. That helps me work my plan.
Excellent.
That makes me very effective. I'm not afraid to cold call. There's a lot of reasons.
Okay, good. I see from your resume that you've been in sales a long time. What interests you most about sales positions?
Well, I love the variety of sales, the variety of people. Situations are always different. You never know what to expect. So it keeps it very fresh, keeps me on my toes. I love that.
That's great. Of course, there's always another side of the coin. What about the least? What do you like least about sales?
Well, probably rejection. I think that's hard for any salesperson.
Sure.
But realizing that when somebody initially says no, it's usually a knee-jerk reaction. They're not necessarily saying no because I haven't really had a chance to try and sell them.
Right.
So getting past that, that's an art. And it's also realizing that I close 1 in 3 sales. So in actual fact, I can expect to have 2 people who decide not to use my services before I actually close a sale.
Right.
And keeping that in mind is fundamental to not let it get me down.
Okay. So, but I'm sure, everyone has bad days, and I'm sure there have been days when you've seen more than 3 potential clients and you haven't closed. What keeps you motivated?
Knowing that the next day I'm probably going to close them all.
Great.
But seriously, I'm intrinsically motivated. I like to do well. Whatever I do, I want to do well, if not be the best. Very competitive that way. So there's a certain pride in doing my job well, exceeding my targets, winning contests, excelling in sporting activities.
Right.
It all plays a part in who I am.
Sure. Well, keeping sports out of it, although always a great metaphor, this is one of the questions I have to ask everybody. What would you say is your most significant professional accomplishment?
Well, the latest was with Marcos. I was charged to book appointments for our managing director who was going to be visiting North America from India. So I contacted the highest level of executives in Walmart, Lord & Taylor, HBC, Steve Madden, Betsy Johnson, BCBG, Forever 21. The list, it's a very long list. And I'd have to say, by and large, the meetings went very well.
Great.
But not without hiccups.
Sure.
So in one specific meeting, I remember our entourage went into the showroom, and as we waited for the executives to arrive, we noticed that everything on display in the showroom was not what we had in our sample cases. So obviously there was a little hiccup. And when we spoke to the executives, they said, no, they don't handle the particular lines that we were showing that day. And Mandeep was ready to pack up and leave, but I thought, no, we're not leaving. So I changed my focus on the fly and said, since we're here, let us tell you a little bit about how we operate, how we deal with other retail chains, how we work with European retailers, which has basically been our bread and butter. And that went very well. We ended up working with 4 of their top designers. We worked on 3 different product lines, working samples and developing those lines. So it was a remarkable meeting.
Fantastic.
And sales that came that otherwise wouldn't have happened at all.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I was very proud, thank
I'm
you.
sure you were. You just mentioned a whole bunch of different retailers, so obviously those came from leads. How do you generate your leads?
I'm very good at researching, and I have to say that lead generation has never been a problem for me. I typically do a lot of research on the internet. I like to look at new appointments. I read trade papers. Leads can come from anywhere. It's just being aware of them. It can come up in conversation with somebody. People know people. It's just never been a problem.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've got your leads, you qualified them, and what's your process once you've got the qualified lead?
Well, as I said, I have a very solid process. My CRM is integral to my success. My first contact is typically by email. I'll have a very persuasive reason why they should meet me, and I'll give a week for follow-up. They're very busy. It's not going to be top priority for them. If I don't hear within a week, I'll follow up with a phone call. If I can't reach them, I'll leave a voicemail. I'll typically do that 3 times. If I don't reach them after that, I'm typically going to look for somebody else within the company so that I can make inroads.
Right.
Sometimes I'm bouncing around from department to department to get to the right person. My first meeting, I'm going to come prepared. I've done my research, I have all my paperwork, I have whatever literature I need for my presentation, and I do a very polished presentation and try and close.
Great. Okay. So persistent but not unpleasantly pushy.
Right.
Great. I'm not in sales, so I'm sort of gleaning what I can.
Okay, thank you.
Then you've had your you've gone through your process, and you're sitting down in those meetings, and you're well prepared for the meetings. I'm sure objections still come up. How do you overcome them?
Absolutely. Oh, it would be a dream if they didn't come up and just said, oh yes, let me sign. But typically there are a variety of objections that come up in any sales interview. They might have no budget, they don't have any time, it's already been taken care of, they're not the decision maker. It's a finite group of objections, and if I come prepared to acknowledge them, ask them a question, I can lead them back into the sales process.
Right.
And so that's what I do.
Great, great. So you've overcome the objections, and I guess ultimately you're going to be asking for a sale. How do you close?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it really depends on the prospect. You know, he has a unique personality. He might be working in concert with other decision makers. So I have to read the signs, and they can be body language. There's a lot of subtleties in the negotiation. Sometimes it's very smooth, and other times there's a lot of back and forth and different attempts to close.
Right.
But I'm not a person who uses a hard close. I don't like to be sold anything. I don't like to do that either. I like to take a consultative approach. So if I can find an issue that's a hot button and provide a solution to that, then I'm going to be able to partner and be a part of the solution. And that usually means a very solid relationship, repeat business, referrals. So I tend to use an assumptive close. Sometimes I'll offer alternatives. Sometimes I'll ask, if I do this, can I have that?
Right.
There's a number of different ways I'll approach it, but it's all very much on the situation.
Okay, fantastic. That is pretty much all I had. I'm sure you probably have questions. Part of our process here, though, is we like to save the questions for the hiring executive.
Okay.
I'm really not in a position to answer any of them
I
anyway.
see.
So that would come as part of the next step in the process. But I hope this first step wasn't too unpleasant.
No, it was lovely. Thank
Fantastic.
you.
And you'll be getting a copy of this video as a souvenir.
Thank you.
No problem. It's just been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Did I get the job?